Spirituality encompasses a very broad idea. In my opinion, it means recognizing that there is meaning beyond human life. To clarify, this means acknowledging God and putting God before anything else in our lives. For me, this is always something I have strived for. But in an appearance-based society, it is easy to be distracted by surface-level matters. Last December, only 5 days before Christmas, a terrible tragedy led me to truly appreciate spirituality. Since it wasn't a school day and I didn't have to get up to an irritating alarm, I woke up feeling well rested. I slowly made my way to the living room in my cozy blue bathrobe and fuzzy red socks. One by one, the rest of my family proceeded to wake up, taking places in front of the television for the morning news. After going into the kitchen to start the coffee maker, my father shuffled back into the living room and sat down between my sister Rebecca and brother Alan on the couch. A few moments later, the volume on the television was abruptly muted, and my father informed us that he had something to tell us. Instead of continuing, he just went silent and grasped my siblings' hands for support. His face went somber, and his mouth formed a frown that showed he was holding back tears. Anxiety began to build up inside me, so I asked what was wrong. I immediately regretted asking that question. My mother spoke up and informed us that during the night our Aunt Mary had died. The tears came right away, but I also felt shock and disbelief. Thoughts raced through my mind. This doesn't make any sense, and why did this happen? My Aunt Mary was only 40 years old, and we had all just seen her lively and happy at Thanksgiving. Therefore, it was painful to hear that my Aunt Mary had died of a drug overdose. Addiction was something she had struggled with for a long time, but prior to her death, she seemed to be on a path to recovery. Since my entire family felt heartbroken and distressed, we all got ready to gather at my grandparents' house where we could grieve together. I got dressed, but the ritual of putting on clothes felt different from the previous day. Many days prior, I stood in front of the mirror, picking apart my appearance. In the past, I was convinced that anything I wore made me look fat and ugly. I was constantly upset over the smallest things. For example, I would worry about my weight, my hair, and my clothes. I worried that people would look at me and judge me for the way I looked. These types of hateful thoughts would cross my mind on a regular basis. Yet, the next day, with the news of Aunt Mary's death weighing heavy in my heart, I stood in front of the mirror just like before. But my insecurities did not seem to matter anymore. Now it seemed silly to worry about such pointless and superficial things. When my Aunt Mary died, my eyes were opened to how important a connection with God is, because things can go wrong at any time. I also realized that before I could be close to God, I had to change my attitude towards myself and become less concerned with what other people thought. This experience made me realize the most essential aspect of life is having a strong relationship with God, and we cannot let our insecurities draw us away from this. Changing my mindset didn't happen overnight, but over time I moved my focus to God. When death arrives, a time that no one can predict, it comes down to you and God. Nothing else matters. This belief in spirituality is a value I will always hold with me. I will remember my Aunt Mary and the impact that her death had on me for the rest of my life.